Everyone, good morning. Thank you so much for giving me your time. So this has been a mission to make this happen, right? Not necessarily in this school, but schools in general. I talk about a topic that everybody's scared of. I talk about a topic that everybody shies away from. And I'm not even talking about your age group. I'm talking about us adults. We don't know what to say, we don't know where to look or how to even approach it. So when I keep approaching schools saying, look, can you just let me in to speak to your students about this topic, please? They're all like, we'd rather stick to the curriculum, we'd rather stick to the lesson plan. But thankfully, your school have let me come in to speak to you about something that's very serious. So we're going to be talking about dangers in person and in the online space. Now, what I'm not going to do here is repeat what you already know, right? Give me a nod if you've had loads of lessons on consent. Right, loads of nods here. Give me a nod if you've had loads of lessons on body awareness. Appropriate touch, right. These are the types of topics that I'm going to be talking about, but I'm going to do it in a bit of a different way because we're going to talk about real life today. Right, so it's going to be, we just had a great session with the other half of your year group. It went really, really well. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about my own story of abuse in my childhood. We've got some interactive discussion to have. We've got some videos to show you from other people that have been through something like this. And it's going to go really well. Right, now you've already had 2 workshops, right? Yeah? What were they? Can someone tell me? What were the 2 workshops of? Who's got a title for me? Come on. Friendships? Was one of them? What was the other one? Yes, please. Consent. Thank you so much. Okay, so we all are aware of these topics. We all know what is allowed and what isn't in the in-person and online space. Now, I'm going to talk to you about my story, and some of you saw this slide when you were walking in. It has a real twist towards the end, so bear with me. We're going to get towards that, towards the later parts. So, as I mentioned, we're not going to go through what you already know. We're going to do something a little bit different here today. Baby reindeer, put your hand up if you saw this. I just want to know how many people of your age saw this show. So we're looking at about 25% of people. Thank you so much. Right. So for people that didn't know, or maybe you watched a short clip on it, or you kind of know what the story is about, the media portrayed it as being a story about stalking, right? The woman stalking the man. But as you get to episode 3 and episode 4, you start seeing, it takes a dark turn, and you start seeing that it is about something completely different. It's about a man taking advantage in a quite horrific way, in a sexual way, another man. And it gets so dark, and I just couldn't believe the way the story unfolded. But what was so powerful about it was it just got people talking. Just got people talking about something that we usually don't want to talk about. Now, I believe that when we use the words, the like harsh words, sexual abuse, sexual assault, we always think of that as an attack. A violent attack, forceful attack, where somebody's got someone pinned down and that person's kicking and screaming, get off me. But actually, the more I do this work, the more I research into it, I see that that's only a very small percentage of the situations. So then you may be asking yourself, all right, well then, if it's not forceful, it's not violent, well, how else does it happen then? Well, you may know, because your subjects may have gone there, PSHE lessons and things, that it can be coercive as well. It can be trickery. It can be manipulation. It can make that person on the receiving end of it think that this is all okay. So these are all things we're going to get into. So let me tell you a little bit about my story. Here I am, 8 years old. Now, you're in year 4 when you're 8 years old, right? I think, yeah, something like that, year 4 or 5. Let me tell you a little bit about what was going on in my life at this age. So my parents have recently separated. Mum and Dad were living in different houses. Now, anyone here that has separated parents, you'll know that it brings one challenge that it brings is that you're now spending some time at your mum's house, sometime at your dad's house, and logistically that becomes a bit of a challenge, right? So when I was spending time at my dad's house, my dad was helping out a friend from work with accommodation. Now my dad was a doctor, so this worked out really well, because my dad would be late at the surgery sometimes, or he'd be on call overnight. And this meant that this colleague of my dad, who was a nurse at the same hospital my dad was working at, he could just help us out with childcare, so it was all good. He was around my dad's age, my dad and him got on really well. This man wasn't everything that he portrayed himself to be. This man was actually an evil man behind closed doors. And he went for young Jeremy. Now, did he do it in a violent way? Did he do it in an attack? No, not at all. He did it in a soft and progressive way. And we think to ourselves, well, how the hell do you get 8-year-old Jeremy to do things, inappropriate things with you of that nature? The grooming process. Now, are we all clued up on the grooming process? Give me a nod. Right, we all have a good idea of what that is. What I'm gonna ask you to do now is I'm gonna give you a very quick minute and a half. I want you to speak to the person next to you and come up with 2 things that the grooming process is, and I'm gonna ask you about them. Ready, steady, go. You've got 1 minute left. 1 minute left. Okay, so we are looking for a couple of points about the grooming process. If you haven't got a couple, please do get some. You've got 20 seconds left. 20 seconds. Right, okay, let's call it now, actually. Okay, so what I didn't do in the last session was ask the audience too many questions. But one of the teachers that isn't here now was like, just ask them and see what they think. Right, so I'm looking for somebody who's going to be confident enough to tell me a little bit about what the grooming process means. Is there anyone here that would come on? Yes, please. Huh? No, you can say it. Fantastic. Right, so you used a powerful word there, control. Right? So you've sorted out a situation with someone else where you've started controlling them. Control is the perfect word to use. Was there any other thing that anyone else wanted to say here? I know it's difficult in front of your year group. Come on.
Is it like learning something to make something?
Say again, speak a bit louder.
Is it like learning something, friendly chat, and do something?
Right, okay, brilliant. So you're luring them into doing something, and maybe they're not exactly sure about what was going on. So 2 excellent definitions. Thank you to both of you for putting your hand up in front of everybody. So grooming is when somebody builds a relationship, trust, and emotional connection with a child or young person so they can manipulate, exploit, or abuse them. Very, very important knowledge for you to have, because you may not even realise it's going on. Right, I reckon you are sick to death with the online conversation about what you're allowed to do and what you're not allowed to do, right? You know it all, right? But the initial stages of an interaction with someone may not seem dangerous, but it could be, and that's why you've got to really have your mind on everything that you're doing, in particular, your life online. Right, so, without the focus being too much in your life online, we want to talk about in person too. So, I'm going to show you a couple of clips from Jenny, right? Jenny is somebody that shared her story on my platform that I founded called Something to Say, right? It's a new movement that's going strong. We're going to hear from her here.
I remember specifically asking him at one point, you know, I'm 12 years old, why are you talking to me? And he was like, I think you're just special. I think that I had a feeling when I first saw you that we were meant to be together.
Okay, so that's Jenny, right? So, when she was 12 years old, and everyone in here is 12 to 13, yeah? Right? We've got that right? Okay, so she was your age, right? And there was a 19-year-old young man who approached her and just started making her feel real special. And she felt it, and she kind of was cool with it, and let's hear a little bit more from her.
When he did stuff to me, I thought that was love. He would tell me things like, I love it when I make you feel good. I love it when, like how selfless am I? Like I must love you so much because I'm only doing stuff to you. You know, even convincing your boyfriend and girlfriend, asking to be his girlfriend.
Okay, so we got intimate between Jenny and this 19-year-old. Now, what's the summary of this part of the talk? There is a rule that we have. There's law, right, that I know you already know, but let's just say it, right? Adults are not allowed to interact with you on a sexual level in any way. That means sexual chat, that means sexual approach, that means anything in person. It's not allowed, right? We don't allow it. It's immoral and it's illegal. Now, if that ever happens to you, right? If somebody ever, online or in person, tries to engage with you in that type of way, you can come forward and we will help you. And we're going to talk about different options you've got to come forward in a bit, but we are going to help you with that. And you know what? You can feel strong in the face of that adult. You really can. You can feel strong in the face of that adult. No need to feel afraid, right? Great support systems around for you. Let's hear a final video from Jenny.
If we're doing the sexual stuff, the world wouldn't understand our love. The world wouldn't understand what's going on. I need you to keep it quiet. I need you not to tell anybody. And it didn't take much convincing. Of course I was going to do that because I genuinely loved him.
Okay, so we see the situation that Jenny was in. We don't want anyone in this room to ever be in that situation, ever, right? So now Jenny shares her story to empower young girls like yourself because she doesn't want anybody to fall for that trap like she did. And we had the great two speakers here talking about luring and control. And that's what happened to Jenny. So we say no to that from the off. Thank you. So, we wonder, with Jenny's story, we're a little bit like, okay, now Jenny's a lot older than you, so the schooling system would have been different then. But you've all been taught the rules, so you would have thought, come on, Jenny. Why didn't you actually just say something? You know, you had teachers, you had friends, just say something about this man. But you saw the trickery that she was under, but also, I just want us to understand a little bit about how difficult it would be to come forward about a situation like Jenny's, or like a situation that I told you that I was in at 8 years old. Now, to demonstrate that, I'd like us to do a mini workshop idea. It's going to take 2 minutes. I'd like everybody to stand up, please. Okay. So, this is to take you all out of your head and into your heart. That's the summary of this workshop. Right, now, what I want you all to do is I want you to think about something, right, that you have done, maybe recently, that you would feel a bit embarrassed to tell the person next to you, or something naughty that you've done against the rules, maybe at home that you've never told anybody about, maybe it's quite recently. Something happened at home, you told mum and dad, something else happened and you never told them the truth, right? So if you all think of something that has happened to you that you would feel embarrassed, resistant, like you don't want to tell the person next to you. It may even be something you've done at school, you know, something to do with homework, something to do with in class, that the teacher thinks something else happened, but something else happened. Right. Now you've all got something, please can you all sit down? Keep that thing in your head, don't lose it. Keep that thing in your head and don't lose it. Right, now, after the count of 3, I want you to turn to the person to the left of you and tell them that thing. 1, 2, whoa. I'm only joking, right? Listen, I don't want you to actually do that, right? But what I want to ask you is, how did you feel when I told you you had to tell the person to the next to you? How did you feel when I started counting 1, 2, and you felt like you were going to have to do it? What did someone say? Someone said something over here? Anyone got a word for me how they felt? Pressure? Yes. Anyone else? Yes, please. Threatened. Anyone else? Yes, please. You couldn't speak. Amazing. Anyone else? Yes, please. Convinced? Convinced, right? Anyone else? Yes, please. Both of you. Yourself first. Overwhelmed. Overwhelmed. Right. So, thank you so much for the input. Right. So you felt feelings of anxiety, right? You felt feelings of fear. Now, I asked you just to come up with something that was trivial, right? Something you've done in class or something you've done at home. Now imagine someone like Jenny. Now imagine someone like Jeremy or 8-year-old Jeremy. How difficult that would be to come forward. I just want us to understand that that is not easy. Me standing in front of you saying, if anything happens online, just make sure you say something. We understand it is not that easy, but it's possible. So, I started doing this work online, right? I launched a YouTube channel, I launched a TikTok account, I launched an Instagram account. Now, we all know how the algorithms work, right? If people don't watch your stuff, if people don't like it or comment it, the platform, TikTok, Instagram, whichever it be, is not going to spread that piece of content to more people, right? So I was trying to work out everything that I've explained to you. How am I going to communicate this with the general public? So I started making film, right? Started making film, working with creatives in London, trying to work out the best ways that we can communicate the grooming process. Everything that we've talked about so far. So we made this film, award-winning film. Could I ask one of the teachers to do the lights, please? So this film was won 4... Ooh! Can you pass that to me, please? This film has won 4 awards. Thank you so much. This film has won 4 awards in London film festivals. We're proud of that because usually a topic on grooming you're never going to get spread. It's 4 minutes long and I'm going to show you it.
Right, crossbar challenge, are you ready?
Yeah, are you ready?
Alright, 3 rounds, 10 shots, whoever gets the most wins.
Hi, sorry I'm late. It's all going in this job, crazy, never ends. Apologies again. Where are we? So,
Oh, joking. How you doing that you?
it's
Jeremy.
Jeremy, yes. Jeremy. G. Gute. How do you pronounce your surname? Gunatilaka. Jeremy Gunatilaka. Nick Johnson.
Here he is. That's the graphics day.
Jordan,
Yeah, Miss Schaefer.
you might say that.
Right, let's go.
It's obviously an interesting case. It's difficult, to say the least.
I was told that you can help. I was told that you deal with this sort of thing.
Yes, but, well, not exactly. I mean, more sexual misconduct in the workplace, quid pro quo, abuse of power, that sort of thing. So, when did this happen?
I thought you were aware of the situation.
Yeah, I am. I fully filled me in, but it's important to hear from you.
Right, well,
Did they offer you water?
no.
You can always have water. Says here he was your childminder.
Yes.
You were how old?
8. I was 8.
8 years old. And where did it happen?
My home.
Right. Now, you see, look, I know I'm known for dealing with the tough cases, but this was over 20 years ago.
Sorry.
You got it.
Yeah, of course. I said it would.
Is it on
Yeah, have a look. Yeah, come on. Let's go put it on, shall we?
Do you see what I'm trying to say here, Jeremy?
I don't know, I've had a long time.
It's a very long time ago.
Do you think I'm making this up? I can tell you everything about this man. It's all
Is
there.
there anyone to corroborate your story? That's all it is right now. There's no case. It's your word against his. And it's never going to get that far. And what's this going to change? What's the end of it? I mean, come on. The guy's abusing you. You don't say anything. Not a word. Not a word to anyone. Not going to say anything. Everyone waits until now. Why? Why? You have people around you. You have friends. I'm sure there's someone at school you could have spoken to. At least that would have given me something. Why don't you say anything?
Okay. So I have seen that film 1,000 times. I mean, we edited it together with the editors, and it still hits me every time. When you think of that young Jeremy, not knowing what to do about the situation that he was in, because sometimes he was feeling all right, and sometimes he wasn't. But the big takeaway from that film is the statistic at the end. You saw it, right? 20 years on average for people to come forward. I don't want anybody in this room who goes through something, has been through something, or will go through something to feel like they can't say anything. That's the big takeaway from today's talk. So I have taken 4 images from the film, the actor, Jonah, the young lad. I wonder what you think about the emotions that he's feeling in these moments. I want you to come up with 3 words that describe the emotions that this boy is feeling in these scenes, and you've got 1 minute to talk to the person next to you about what they are, and I'm going to ask you about them. Go. Three words. We want 3 words. 3 words that describe the emotions. Okay, everyone. Thank thank you so much. Okay, so we've had two people on either side that have been really interactive, and if you want to be interactive again, please do, right? Thank you so much to you two for coming forward and giving some answers. Right, so now I'm looking for more people to get involved. Who's got some words for me? One word that describe this. Yes, please. Confused. Right, anyone else? Yes, please. Shocked. Anyone else? Yes, please, at the back. Happy. Yes, please. Go for it. Comfortable. Uneasy. Right, okay, one more. Yes, please. Uneasy. Yes, you at the front. Careful. Right, okay, so we see that the boy is experiencing different emotions, but look at these words. Happy. Comfortable. Now, I reckon before I came here, if I told you that a child was in a sexual abuse situation, you would have never thought of those words associated with that situation. Happy and comfortable, what do you mean? Well, this is based on my story, and I remember in some moments being okay with it. But in some moments, when you saw this scene, which probably sent a shiver up your spine, being uncomfortable. And what we want to do is we want to equip everybody in this room that as soon as you feel that gut feeling, as soon as you feel that ick, right, whether that be in person or online, you're like, I'm going to action that and I'm going to speak to someone about it. Because we don't want this, right? We don't want this for anybody here. The stories are vast, right? It's not just mine, it's not just Jenny's. We have Karen on the left-hand side. She was 9 years old. It was a trusted neighbour. You got Ryan in the middle. He was 8 years old. It was his stepdad. And you've got Betty on the right. She was 6 years old, and it was a church member. The stories are complicated and the stories are vast, but the commonality that myself and these three people have is none of them talked about it until they were in their adulthood. And the problem that comes with only talking about it in your adulthood is that then you've got to sit with that trauma on your own for decades before you get support from therapists, from support workers, etc. So, if you ever wanted to say something about anything, where would you go? Let's do another minute. Right, so there are four main avenues here. Where would you go if you want to talk to someone about something that you feel uncomfortable is going on in your life? I want some answers from people. You've got 1 minute, go. Okay, I think that would do us, because I think this is a really easy question. So, can I have your attention, please, everybody? Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you. I feel like this is a pretty easy question, right? Where you're going to go. This is something you've been taught year on year. Who's got some answers for me? Yes, please. Childline, excellent. Anonymous charities. Who's next? Who hasn't answered something? Yes, please. Sorry? Police also. You could go and call the police for help. Yes, please. A trusted adult. Yes, please. A friend's parent. Never had that one before. That's decent, that is. A friend's parent. But also your parents, right? So if your parents aren't somebody you want to speak to, maybe your friend's parents. I like it. Yes, please.
Your grandparents.
Your grandparents. Yes, please. Siblings. There's one more I'm looking for. Yes, please. Teachers. Right, okay. So here's the four main ones you've got. Options for you. If you ever, and do you know what, right? There may be people in here that are going through something right now, right? Let's not gloss over this. Statistics tell us that there probably is someone that's going through something right now. We want them supported. As a friend of a friend, you're going to support them, right? We want them to know the options. That's why this is so important. But there's also going to be people who are in here that have been through something in the past, but most definitely there will be people in here that will go through something in the future. So you have 4 options. You have teachers, and you have a great support system here in this building, in this school. They have processes and procedures that have been carefully detailed to protect you. You have your parents. If school isn't an option for you, you have your parents. If parents aren't an option for you, you have charities like Childline. If Childline isn't an option for you, you can speak with your friends about it. And you can definitely do that, right? So, here's me in year 7, right? 1 year younger than me. And what I didn't do was use those 4 options. I just kept the whole thing to myself. I didn't say nothing about it. I didn't show any signs to anyone. I just kept it in my own head. I turned into my teenage years. This is me in year 8, so your year group. And things were going really well for me in my life, because I'm pretty sure we have this idea that if you go through something like a sexual assault or sexual abuse, that you now can't speak to anybody, you're anxious and you feel depressed all the time. It's not always the case. Right, it's not always the case. I was doing fine. Doing well at school too, playing all the sports, good friends. This is me in year 11. I just found this photo the other day, by the way. Like, we didn't have phones, right? So we ain't got loads of photos. Me and my mates, we've just got a handful. This is one of them that we took with a Polaroid camera. You probably don't even know what that is, but here's one of the photos. Me in year 11, still haven't told anybody, haven't showed any signs. Here's me on my first boys' holiday in Ibiza many moons ago, but still haven't showed any signs and haven't told anyone. Then I get to 25 years old, right? And something seems to change. I start having these low bouts of sadness, and I wasn't sure where they were from. Now, my work life, my friend's life was going so well, right? I left college with good grades. I got an apprenticeship in aerospace engineering. They were teaching me how to design aircraft systems, structures and parts. I was travelling all around the world with this job. I was working in Dubai. I was working all over Europe. I was earning great money. I had these great friends. We were out partying at the weekends. Everything was great. But something changed at 25. I thought to myself, oh no, it's the abuse. It's back. Now remember, finished at 10 years old, the abuse did. Went on for 2 years, from 8 years old to 10. I'm now 25, 15 years. I never really said anything about it. I never really even thought about it. But this was different. And I thought, you know what? I don't want to deal with this right now. So I'm just going to keep pushing these memories away until they disappear, right? I tried for 2 years. I'm not getting anywhere with it. I'm then 27 years old. The memories turned to flashbacks, turned to night terrors. And I was in a bad way. I kept having this same dream, right, that I was that 8-year-old boy again. I was experiencing flashbacks. You may have been taught, or you definitely know the term PTSD, right? This is the type of thing that it is. A flashback is a real experience in which you relive some aspects of a traumatic event, feel like it's happening right now. Now, this is serious stuff. Because you don't make up your dreams, do you? Right? Like, if you could make up your dreams, you'd have the most fun at night, wouldn't you? You'd be flying places, you'd be seeing who you want. Your dreams happen to you, right? And something was going on in my brain where it was like knocking at my door with what I went through as a child. And this is why I wish I had addressed it earlier. Not at 27 years old. I wish I had addressed it at the time it was happening. When I was having these night terrors, I was mad about it. Right? I was so angry. I was so angry that this was happening. So I started wanting to work out the best ways I could communicate this topic. So I worked with some animators in London, and I created this animation. Don't worry about the lights for this one, thank you. It's just 1 minute long. You're going to hear that anger in my voice.
I have a recurring night terror with you in it. It's the same dream every time. I'm lying in my bed and I can see you coming from my bedroom door. And I start to panic and I want to get away, but I can never seem to move myself. So I start shouting for help, but no words will come out. It's more like a sound. And as you get closer to my bed, I start shouting louder and louder until I finally wake myself up. And I'm shaking, but so relieved that it was only a dream. Look at what you've done. Look at the result of your actions. It's been 25 years, yet I still can't get you out of my head. How dare you do this? So now you can understand a little bit more about why I'm doing what I'm doing and why I won't stop.
Okay. So, you can feel the anger in my voice, right? Things have changed now, you know. I do this work full time. I go and turn this pain into purpose and come and speak to young people like yourselves and offer you my advice from my lived experience. So let's hear from another person that's been through something. This is Annie. Let's hear what she's got to say.
And then alcohol started getting poured, and I was doing quite a lot to drink. I hadn't really drunk that much at that age, so it was all sort of a very new experience to me. And then things started to feel very uncomfortable. The three of them became very touchy-feely, very touchy-feely. And despite me rejecting that, trying to push it away, they just kept pushing and pushing and pushing. And then the three of them abused me. They abused me, took photos. I remember just leaving my body. I just felt very numb to it. And I just did. I mean, at 14 years old, how do you even put that into words?
Okay, let me tell you a little bit about Annie's story. And by the way, I have spoken to Annie. I know Annie and I know Jenny, right? Jenny's in America, Annie's here in England. They both shared their stories on my platforms. I spoke to both of them and asked them, would you be happy for me to share clips of your story at the girls' school that I'm going to speak at? And they were like, yes, come on. Tell them about what happened so that they don't have to fall for traps like that themselves. So Annie, let me tell you a little bit about what happened with her. She was out on her first night away from, on her own, right? It's the first time she was really away from her parents. She was 14. And she was going out with her friends, and the idea was, the deal was that she'd go and stay at her friend's house that night. Now, halfway through the night, her friend got ill, so she went home, and really what Annie should have done is also gone home. But what Annie decided to do was tell her parents that everything was cool. She's still going around her friend's house. And she stayed out with the group that she was out with. Now, the group that she was out with, a lot of them were older. 3 of the older boys said to her, why don't you come back to ours, we're going to have a little party. We've got some more people come round too. So that's what happened. Nobody turned up, alcohol was introduced, and then she was taken advantage of. Let's hear from her again.
I just was in complete shock. I just didn't know what to say or do. I just felt very dead inside, I suppose, very dead. So I remember they dropped me off back to my parents. They had a caravan at the time and it was unlocked, so what I did, I just went in, got into the top bunk, and I just laid there. I remember just staring at the ceiling, just really confused about what had just happened. Started to feel very guilty and very ashamed. To be honest, I just felt like I just wanted to forget about it, just bury it, put it in a box and forget about it.
So, Annie didn't know how to say anything or even find the strength to say something. And what she asked me to tell you all is that she wants you all to understand that you all have the strength to come forward if anything ever happens to you. You are going to go through a stage in your life. Some of you are going to go to a stage in your life where you do start drinking and things do get vulnerable and you do start going to parties. And she wants you to know that you can come forward with those 4 options that we've been through, with anything that happens to you, or if you can just move forward a few steps, anything that gives you that gut feeling where you're uncomfortable. online or in person. One final video from Annie.
I just felt disgusting. I felt like I just didn't exist. I felt like I shouldn't be alive anymore, that I just didn't deserve to be alive. And one of the things that really struck me is that the school called the police, but not once did anyone speak to me. Not once did anyone comfort me in terms of school. I just did not get spoken to by anyone. I almost felt as if like it was my fault.
Right, this is really important. Now, Annie is a lot older than you. She went to school 20 years ago, right? Schools have changed. This place is, schooling system is amazing now. It's nothing like what it was like when I was at school. It's nothing like what it was like when Annie was at school. Now, if you were to come forward at school and to school were to contact the police, that kind of situation wouldn't happen. There are processes and procedures in this building that will protect you and support you in every move that you need to make if you come forward in the school environment. And also your parents will have some idea, some knowledge of what they can do also if you decide to tell them. So we talked about the abuse that happened with me, and we've talked about the memories. I decided after those night terrors that I needed to do something different. But what was that going to be? I thought, why don't I just tell a mate about what happened? That would be a good idea. Now, that was one of the 4 options, wasn't it? Friends. So, I'm in the pub with a mate, we're just having a beer, and I am in my head saying, just say the words. Just say the words to this person. I just couldn't get the words out. It was terrifying. We've been through all of that. But after trying a few times, I managed to do it. It was to a friend called Luke. He was one of my best mates. And he gave me a great response. You as friends, your best friends, your friends in your circles, you're all there to support each other. And you all need to be there to support each other, especially in today's world. So, I woke up the next morning feeling amazing with this weight that had been lifted off my shoulders, that I'd spoken about it for the first time, and I went on some mission with my career. Now remember, I was in the aircraft industry and I had this dream of Formula One, right? I wanted to work for Formula One. I thought it'd be great to be involved in the design team. So I started going on this mission, studying, learning, moving from job to job, and I got a job at Jaguar Land Rover, designing their Range Rover cars. I then got a job at McLaren Supercars in Woking, designing their limited edition vehicles worth millions of pounds, and then Red Bull Racing emailed me. They wanted to see me for an interview to see whether I'd be suitable for their design team. But in all of this time chasing this career goal, I'd also kept speaking out about what had happened, one friend at a time, and I kept growing in confidence. And then I started researching who else had a story, and I found chat rooms, Instagram accounts, TikTok accounts, thousands of people that had a story like mine. And I thought, what's the missing link here? Why is this happening so much? Why are we not catching this before it happens? And I thought, it's because we're just not having the conversation. We're just not talking about it. As a society, as people, we're just not talking about it. That's why I started with that Baby Reindeer program, and I wouldn't advise anybody to go and watch it because I think it's probably not for your age group, but we just need to get this subject out there. And you know what? I said this to the last group, and I'm not sure whether I'm perfectly correct in saying this, but I dare you to go home and speak to your parents about it and say, look, we had this guy in today, right? And he was talking about being taken advantage of in person or online, and I learnt these 3 things. What do you reckon? Right? Because there's going to be an uncomfortable conversation for them, but they're going to be really pleased that you had this talk here at the school today. So, those that are on TikTok, give me a nod. Yeah, most people on TikTok. Be careful on TikTok. I downloaded TikTok, I use it for work purposes, and it is an unstable platform. Be careful on there. The TikTok live feature is open for anybody to come and speak with you. Be careful on there. Be vigilant on there. You don't want to be this story, which I don't have time to tell you, but you don't want to be somebody who's got all caught up in something that feels exciting and you feel empowered and you feel grown up, but really that person is not there for your well-being. So, let me tell you about the twist in the story. We've only got a few more minutes left. I promised you that I would tell you what happened at the end. And I wondered whether it was suitable for your age group for me to tell you this. So I put out a poll on my social media, and it was a 98% vote that I told you. And the reason why people said I should tell you is because they said even if you searched me afterwards you'd find out, but also it's real and it puts the seriousness of this topic on your table, and that we need to be vigilant and powerful in the face of it. So, the man that did this to me, where is he now, and was he still doing it to more children, were two questions I wanted to be answered. So I started searching for him online, and I managed to find his Facebook profile. There he was with his wife and his two daughters, smiling at Christmases and smiling on holidays. I messaged him on Facebook and said to him that I wanted to meet him to talk about what happened all those years ago, and we could meet any place of his choice, coffee shop, park, wherever he wants, but he is to come and meet me. I press send. I walk away from my computer, I come back 2 hours later, and he blocked me. I literally couldn't believe it. So I picked up the phone to the police and I reported the crime. The investigation took 9 months because they were trying to find evidence. This happened a long time ago, and the police supported me amazingly. The police are brilliant at their job. They're highly skilled at supporting people that have been through a situation where they were taken advantage of in a sexual way. They were excellent. Unfortunately, after 9 months, nothing could be done. This happened 20 years prior to when I was reporting on it, and this is why I wish I had come forward earlier. I could have got this man prosecuted and protected from other people. You may be wondering, well, what about your parents? Did you ever tell your mum? Did you ever tell your dad? I always wanted my dad to never find out what had happened. He's going to only blame himself. But during the prosecution, he needed to give a statement, so I went to his house and I told him. Now, I'm not going to lie to you about this and say that it was all good and that he was okay with it. He wasn't. It was painful. It was sad for him. But he said to me, I'm so sorry that happened, but I'm going to support you in every move you need to make from here. Let's go get it. And so it's a positive outcome. With the investigation closed, I was still angry. I was young and I wouldn't do this again, right? I wouldn't do this again. I behaved irrationally. My emotions were all over the place. I didn't hold myself. I wasn't strong in these moments. What I wanted to do was I wanted to confront him to his face after him denying it. So I managed to find out where he lived and I went and knocked on his door to confront him. He answered the door. He couldn't believe it and I couldn't believe it. But I managed to hold the door open and I got my confrontation in front of him and I told him everything that I needed to say to him. But it gets worse. His wife was in the background. She called the police. They arrived. I was arrested. And he took me to court for all of this and I was found guilty. Now that is the twist in the story. And I tell you that in trust because I want you to know how serious this topic is. So now what am I doing? I've built social media platforms online. It's growing. The movement is growing. But enough is enough, right? I am very, very sure there are enough of you girls sitting here, right, that have been approached suspectedly or inappropriately online. You don't nod your heads, right? That's not the purpose of this. I know there are people in here that have been approached inappropriately because the statistics show us, right? We've got to be strong in the face of this now. We know the 4 options that you can go to if you ever feel uncomfortable with anything. We are here to support you. So, I hope I've helped you in some way today. I hope you will never forget about what we talked about today. And I hope you now feel like you can be strong in the face of danger in person and online. Can you do me a favour before you go? Please, if you thought this was interesting, if you thought this was valuable, if you thought this was good, please tell your teachers about it. Because as I mentioned at the start, I struggle with getting into schools. Talk to each other about what I've talked about as well. And teachers that are in this room, if you thought this was good, I do teacher training too. And I'm wanting to get in front of your other year groups. Please help me within your colleagues. This has to be a team effort. The taboo and stigma holds it down and we need to release it. So I hope you enjoy the rest of your workshops. I hope you enjoyed this too. Have a great day and thank you.